I want to say thank you again
Great.
for
Great.
everyone that's joining us today for Susanna Rich's poetry reading. If you'll see on your screen, shout Poetry for Suffrage, that is her book. We have it here at Paulsdale, but it is also available on Amazon. I'll put the link to purchase in the chat if you're interested. But we're incredibly grateful for her joining us today and helping us connect with people at such an unprecedented time in present day. But without further ado, I'll kick it to Susanna for her presentation and reading.
Welcome, everyone. I am so grateful that we have these platforms so that we can connect. Today, I'm going to be reading just a few selections from Shout Poetry for Suffrage. And it is a collection of poems that I've written from the points of view of key suffragist figures from 1848, Seneca Falls Women's Rights Convention, to the 1920 promulgation of the 19th Amendment. In the pages, we have Elizabeth Cady Stanton strategizing with Susan B. Anthony. Then we have Susan B. Anthony speaking with, let's see, I'm not sure what that is. We have Susan B. Anthony arguing with Frederick Douglass as to who should get the vote first, the newly freed slaves or women. We also have Matilda Jocelyn Gage, who will later become the inspiration for Glinda the Good Witch of the North. And of course, most importantly, and that this is where I will focus today, we have Alice Paul and Lucy Burns, who were imprisoned and on hunger strike, tortured and force-fed. We also have Ida B. Wells and many other luminary figures in these pages. As John F. Kennedy said at the inauguration of the Robert Frost Library, when power corrupts, poetry cleanses. And so with these poems, I hope to bring out the hose, the brush, and the bucket. Shout, shout up with your song, cry with the wind, for the storm is breaking. March, march, swing you along, white blows our banner, and hope is waiting. This is Ethel Smythe's anthem for women. I'm going to start with Alice Paul. I am Alice Paul, 1885 to 1977. I am a suffragist fighting to be heard, fighting for all women to be heard. So I throw stones into the windows of power. It is time for a new direction. I have broken 48 windows. I have broken thousands. For this, I am locked up in an airless prison, rank with the stench of sweat, vomit, urine, feces, women's blood. They will say it's a book of poetry, but it's a bowl that I pitch at a high window and hit my mark, break the window so that we might breathe the democratic air. And my sister suffragists cheer my aim. But then my window is blocked up, a solid board that covers the kindly face of an old man who bemoans his hammer and nails. But there is another light, another air, another song. So I toss stones, break windows open when doors will not. I break glass, that suspense of liquid and sand. I throw glass, electric bulbs and goblets. I throw books. I throw the book at those who make unjust laws. I break laws that choose me, though I have not chosen them. I break whatever needs shattering to make the world as beautiful as I can. I throw and throw until I may throw my hat into the ring. And I cast and cast until it is ballots that we all cast. 1913, women's suffrage procession. I am Ida B. Wells, 1862 to 1931. Ida Bell Wells Barnett in full. Iola for a pen name as journalist and nicknamed Princess of the Press by Black newspapers. I am born a slave. Yellow fever takes my parents and brother. And so I leave my dear Black college called Rust to support 3 sisters and 2 brothers. I ride a white mule to the school where I teach for $25 a month. Once I sit in a first-class railway coach meant for white ladies. The conductor orders me to remove to the smokers and the Jim Crow car. I resist. He manhandles me. He tears my dress, throws me off the train, and the white passengers cheer. Judge James Q. Pierce, once a Union soldier, awards me $500 against the railroad, but his ruling, predictably, is reversed on appeal. So don't tell me, Alice Paul, if I, a Black woman, march among the white in your great women's suffrage procession, that Southern white women would abuse me, that we are in danger of their withdrawing their state suffrage support. Don't tell me I am to be segregated to the tail end of the parade where the Black sisterhood walks. And when Inez Milholland, astride her magnificent white mare, canters grandly by, and 6,000 women march past me like a mighty white ocean in this moment. For my father, who voted his conscience for Lincoln's Republicans and thereby lost his white employment. For my Black friend, Tom Moss, a Sunday school teacher sleeping in his bed, shot in the head by a lynching mob for protecting himself from white vandals. For all the men of my race falsely accused of raping white women, for all the women of my race called harlots and raped by white men, for all the threats, intimidations, gerrymandering, stonings, beatings, murders to suppress, manipulate, silence us from exercising our vote. For all my poor, starving, exiled people, reviled, hung, burned at the stake, castrated, hands and feet amputated if they tried to escape from these jostling sidelines. I gather my race in my arms. I lift up my right foot and I step forward. A drop of ink on newsprint. A word on a blank page, a Black woman marching among the white. I am so grateful to Alice Paul Institute for many things. I was very early in my work when I came to the Alice Paul Institute and met Lucy Beard and a wonderful staff. And they have kindly midwifed me through much of this work. Another thing I love about the Alice Paul Institute are the Facebook posts. I'm afraid I'm addicted to Facebook. And there you posted that today is Florence Nightingale's 200th birthday. She was born in 1820, so it's a double centennial, as it was for Susan B. Anthony in February. And the nurses have been so very important in our history and today. How much we cannot express enough gratitude for the nurses today who are on the front lines of the COVID virus. So it is also the centennial of the Spanish flu, which raged between 1918 and 1920. And so I thought it was appropriate and important to write a poem in tribute to nurses. And in particular, I'm going to read from the voice of I am Lavinia Lloyd Dock, 1858 to to 1956. The Spanish lady, they call this flu. The January 1918 to 1920 pandemic. And some will call it German pest, Blitzkatar, then others will call it Flanders fever, the black's disease, the white man's disease. Everyone's scapegoating what is practiced by the ignorant and craven. Europe doesn't start the flu. Woodrow Wilson does when he declares America for World War I. Plagues are spread by commerce and war. Our plague starts in Camp Funston in Kansas and Camp Devens, Massachusetts. Tens of thousands of conscripted men in close barracks, dropping as suddenly as if they had been shot. Still, sick recruits are crammed into troop ships and deployed to the European front. The war is all to Wilson. Dismissing this grip that kills 50 million, our young soldiers drowning in their own mucus and blood. Vigorous constitutions unknowing what is host and what is invader, attacking themselves from within, and their mustard-colored suppurating blisters, the mahogany spots on their cheeks, blue as huckleberry, wild blind eyes. At home, the purple death. This flamethrower, this grenade, this machine gun burns through mass gatherings that are permitted, in fact, encouraged during this plague, such as the Liberty Bond parades and conferences to finance Wilson's war. 675,000 Americans die, and in churches, congregations collapse in their pews. I have no religious belief. I have no use for it. But this is not about God. It's about human politics and the rape of Mother Earth. The First World War starts not for lofty ideals, but for worldwide reactionary elements. Monarchies over there, millionaire corporations here, wanting oil, land, and the subjugation of workers and of women. I am born into wealth, but I choose to be a nurse. 20 years in New York's Henry Street settlement with poor immigrant women and laborers, those most likely to succumb to syphilis and childbirth mortality, starvation, yellow fever, typhoid, this flu. The antidote to the disease of war is women's voices and women in government. The very women who man the farms, the munitions factories, the old and the young, who as mothers and nurses served the war. The Sallies of the Salvation Army, the Red Cross nurses, and the women officers frying donuts in the helmets for soldiers. Women who birth human cannon fodder, who clean up after men. They are the ones who are truly invested in ending all wars. Unrelenting, we suffragists campaign, tour the country, persist. I walked from New York to Washington, D.C. to march in the 1913 Women's Suffrage Parade. 1917 to 1920, through the worst of this ravaging contagion, through the raging war, we wage our peaceful battles for all humankind. Through ice and heat, and the angry spittle of hecklers, tempting this contagion that so many of our sister sups fall to. We stand, nevertheless, silent sentinels picketing Wilson's White House. Wilson ordains that we be arrested, jailed, tortured into silence. No matter. The young are at the gates. It is a great joy to do a little guerrilla war in the cause. Going to jail gives me a purer feeling of unalloyed content than I've ever had in any of my other work. Spanish lady, what a blind misnomer for this raving, rampaging disease embodied by those who rule best with 20/20 vision. Call it the American Lord. Many of the poems in this book are from multiple voices, people in dialogue. That's what we need. I am Alice Paul. I have lost my sense of taste. I have lost my sense of smell. I am on a hunger strike. I am Lucy Burns. Alice, they think to have severed the heart from the head. You in one prison and I in the other. They do not know that we who have marched together have been behind bars together, step for step, breath for breath, bleeding as one could stop. Where there is love, absence bonds us the more. As absence of food clears the way between us, what they call a hunger strike I know is fasting. As cold brings sleep, so abstinence brings clarity. Each day I slough off poisons. These doctors seem more and more fraught and insane. Each day I leave behind my initial weakness. Each day I strengthen my will. I am hunger. Woman does not live by bread alone. I will not come until it is time for the feast. Dr. Gannon for all his bluster, bent on breaking me into pieces, orders a nurse to observe me. All through the night she flashes lights into my eyes. This is the worst torture of them all. They want to, but can't, rob me of my dreams. I am the district jail charwoman. History will not know my name. No one sees a charwoman. It's my gift. It is freedom. I come with my bucket, my water, my lie. I kneel down by your bed, Alice Paul, and I lift my brush and pound it to the floor. I scrub. I'm there. I scrub. The brush shushes on the floor. I am on my knees and I reach under the bed. I'm hidden. From between my breasts, I pull out a small, tight roll of paper. I reach up my hand through the bed's bars. You reach down. We exchange these letters. I bring you your Lucy. I bring her Alice. We do not speak. There are no cobwebs under your bed, Alice Paul, and the floor is clear and clean. A poem in multiple voices. I am Lucy Burns. History will know this cold, moonless 1970 November night as the night of terror. And you, prison guards, you, the hot, rank breath on my neck, you who grab and shake me, you who twist my arm and manacle my wrists. The metal grinds tight, snaps shut. You yank my arms up above my head, chain them to these prison bars, and slam the door inches from my face. The clank, the ring of iron banged into iron. I hang all night, waiting. You have shut me up. My fingers, my hands, my arms burn as if poked with infinite needles. I throb. My shackles cut into my wrists. They are cutting off my hands. I ache, I hurt, I grow heavy. My arms fade to numb. My skin mottles blue, my ribs, my lungs. Labor, my feet and ankles grow too weak now to raise me for each breath. This is not sobbing. This is struggle for breath. The need for the fear of sleep, of choking. This is what hanging on the cross meant, this is what it means to be on the rood, to lose, feel, to suffocate. My own weight pulling me down. You strip me of my clothing. I am an empty dress hung on a line. I am Susan B. Anthony. I have come to you in spirit, Lucy Burns. In November, 45 years ago, they came to arrest me for casting a ballot. Seeing me as a lady, they were reluctant to treat me like a criminal, but I demanded the handcuffs. I would not be denied the perfect image of my state. My hands tied. Feel them rise through yours now. Let our shackles clang like bells. I am the Statue of Liberty waiting in New York Harbor, trapped by water on all sides. I have no name. I cannot move. Still, I raise my torch, my arm ever aloft. Still, I cradle the book of freedom. I am the mother of exiles. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. I am the new moon. The sky is dark with shame this night. Why has the sun abandoned me? I am not hiding, Lucy Burns. Woman of light, I have turned into myself. I will cradle you. Wait for my return. I am Julia Emery. I, in my cell across from you, Lucy Burns. Your red hair, a glowing sun in this gloom. Your white skin, a beacon of stars. I have beaten down the rats that would have crawled into our beds. I am here. I raise my arms to mirror you. I raise my arms to be you, Sister Suff, valiant goddess. All the long night with you, silent, silenced. We shiver with November, damp and cold. Yet our arms are torches, our hearts burn, our fingers flicker like flames. I am Alice Paul. There will never be a new world order until women are a part of it. The movement is a sort of mosaic. Each of us puts in one little stone and then you get a great mosaic. Like the sweeping floors of New York's new 1905 Penn Station, forming a foundation for the struts and girders and beams, lofting a vast glass ceiling above us. There will come a time when they will say of a woman who will carry a nation, she went where most women would not have gone, that she was a child of the light, that she shattered the glass ceiling and then see the shards gleam among the stones that we have thrown. And now I am going to go through the PowerPoint that I neglected to go through because I was so involved with the voices. So here is the Alice Paul for the first poem when she's throwing stones. And here is this beautiful photo of Ida B. Wells, which is so often doctored, but look at that crease down her face, like tears, like the brokenness that she had to suffer. And here are the silent sentinels who stood despite flu and diseased hecklers. Carrie Chapman did catch the Spanish flu. This is our wonderful nurse, Lavinia Lloyd Dock. Here are Alice Paul and Lucy Burns, who went to England and there learned the militant tactics of the Pankhursts and brought it back to finally marshal through the 19th Amendment. Here's Lucy Burns in prison. Here is the Statue of Liberty, Susan B. Anthony, the moon, and Julia Emery. And here's Alice Paul raising a glass. And there's the 1906 Penn Station. I will come back to this image as we raise our glasses. And here are the young at the gates. I did include people of every party. The most important thing early on in writing these poems is the assertion of the individual, of the I am. And so every poem starts with I am. And in the present tense, because all that our suffragists experienced is still present in our lives now. And so let us return to raise a glass with Alice Paul. Colleen, would you like to do the honors?
Yes, thank you. Such a lovely reading. It was wonderful hearing you bring those poems to life. They are alive on the page, but even more so when you read them. And we're glad for all the participants that have joined us today to raise a glass while we can't be together this centennial in person. It's wonderful being able to connect virtually like this and share the suffrage story and the legacy as we move forward. So cheers to everyone. Cheers
to Alice.
Cheers to Alice, and cheers to 100 years. We've seen some things change, we've seen some things stay the same, but I'm always excited to keep living Alice's legacy, and living it together with all of you sounds like a great way to spend my 2020.